the EV Cafe have Robert Llewelyn in the house talking about fully charged.
Well, hey everybody, this is a special treat. We've got Robert Llewelyn from the famous Fully Charged, just getting 1 million subscribers, Robert, not too long ago.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, we're now at 1,006,009 or something.
Just leaping ahead. And obviously fresh off the back of Fully Charged Farnborough in the south, right here in this very hall.
This very hall, yeah.
Very successful.
It was extraordinary, yes. I mean, it's our 5th year. So it's been, we started small at Silverstone, did 2 years there, we've moved here since then. We went through a little bit of a glitch in the middle of all that, which was a little bit of a challenge for us. But then this year was the biggest we've ever done, and the most people and the most stuff on display. The one thing I didn't know, I just heard the statistic yesterday, 7,500 test drives. Isn't that incredible? I mean, that is bonkers amount of test drives. So even Tesla admitted it was the most test drives they've ever done in one day. They did over 300 in one day, which is just unbelievable, isn't it?
So really successful.
Yeah.
And on from Farnborough to the heady heights of the EV Cafe.
The EV Cafe here, I couldn't resist it. I had to come back. I needed a coffee and a sandwich. I dropped in at the EV Cafe.
And it's so good to have you for the first time, I think, on the EV Cafe.
Yes.
So it's really brilliant news. But Robert, what's the value of exhibitions like this, yours, and this, the ITT Hub? What do you see?
I think they're two very different beasts, but this is critically important. I think this is, I'm hesitating saying more important than private vehicles, but absolutely as important, without any question. To electrify our ground transport is basically the big challenge. And, electrifying a single car is quite not a big technological proposition. Trucks, the size of the trucks that we've got here and the scale that they're coming up to now is really, really a big step, and we've all relied on diesel, absolutely, for all of us have. It's no point being critical of it. That's what's helped us build the world we live in now. We've absolutely built it on fossil fuels, and what we need to do now is start using that less. And so any one of these trucks that is doing thousands, tens of thousands of miles a year and not using fossil fuel and being able to charge it off from the electricity grid, which is getting cleaner and has to get cleaner, and that's a critically important part of it. That is a really important aspect of the whole thing, that you can charge an electric truck off renewable energy. Yes. You cannot fill a diesel truck from renewable diesel. You just can't do it.
No. And are there key lessons that we can learn from the experience of cars as we take it into the sort of trucks and the technology around the transport that we're seeing here?
I think it's difficult to say because the little I understand about logistics and vans and trucks and how they're used is completely different to private cars. It's a totally different beast. And so you can't really compare the two things. But I think what we're witnessing now, and I've seen it in various little instances around the country and around the world, in fact, is when a logistics company, a delivery company, or in one case I saw in Australia, a building materials company, uses an electric vehicle and then does their spreadsheets. That's the difference, I think, between a company with trucks and an individual with an electric car. The individual electric car goes, well, I'm spending less on petrol, but I don't really know how much less, and I don't know, and my electricity bill's gone up a bit, but then, all that. It's a vague understanding of it. Not with a company, they've got spreadsheets, and the company I saw had saved $140,000 in the first year of operating a fully electric massive truck. This pulls 95 tons of sand at once, delivering sand to building sites. Wow. So these are big American, it was a Kenworth tractor trailer originally, and it's been converted to it's got swappable batteries. Each of the batteries weighs 2.5 tons. So it's quite big, chunky stuff, but it works. And they're using it. I had to film it on a public holiday because that truck is in use all around.
And that's the difference primarily is that every hour spent on the road or lost on the road to charging or anything like that is critical for the guys that are here at the ITT Hub. So it's fantastic. And what stuck with you about the show here?
I mean, Steve, well, certainly there's a very big example of a hydrogen fuel cell tractor, which I think, you know, we've had lots of discussions over the last 13 years on Fully Charged Show about the benefits or the future of being hydrogen, all that stuff. The second car I ever drove on the Fully Charged Show was the Honda Clarity hydrogen fuel cell car. Amazing car. Yeah. There's some left in California. There's 3 or 4 places you can refill them. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying it never will, but they are incredibly expensive. They are mind-bogglingly complicated. They require an enormous amount of service. And what I think we've seen now is battery electric cars don't require any. Whatever disadvantages they have, one of the massive advantages is servicing. They're such simple machines. They don't need a lot of attention. No, you know, all the things. I've forgotten what I used to have to do with my combustion cars all the time, the constant servicing. In the winter, check that it's not going to freeze. I mean, I've thought about that for years. I bust a car once because I didn't have antifreeze.
Oh, yeah.
And it cracked the block. It wrecked it. And then I opened the bonnet and there was a big stalk of ice from the top that had ripped off the radiator, and the radiator had, everything was screwed. It was trashed. So we don't have to do that anymore. No. But you know, I mean, I think there's clearly some really interesting, innovative technology and ideas coming up here.
And I think that's what the ITT Hub's all about, is because we're right at the inception for trucks and cold chain, so the
buses and coaches,
coaches, truck, you know, the really heavy stuff. So it's great to see all these new shoots of technology coming to the fore.
Yeah.
Well, Robert Llewelyn, listen, thank you ever so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us here on the EV Cafe.